This is a presentation of the Sports Source Digital Network, presented by Hearthside Bank.
Countdown continues on as we get closer and closer to August 30th, and Tennessee kicking off that 2025 season against the Syracuse Orange. Welcome inside action on the Sports Source Digital Network. You guys know what to do. You're liking, you're subscribing, you're commenting. You know Chuck Cavalaris. You know Tyler Ivens. We get into the wide receiver room that is Kelsey Pope and Chuck Cavalaris. Can I just call it a disappointment? We'll quickly just say congratulations to Brew McCoy on a successful season, medically having to retire. Right. And he leads your team last year with only 39 receptions. And when you break down 4 years for Josh Heupel in the wide receiver room and Kelsey Pope and the different mix-ups they've had at coaches, Said Tillman leads the way with 64 catches in 2021. Hyatt, Squirrel White, the aforementioned Brew White goes 67, 67, 39. Brew McCoy, thank you. So let me just ask you right here out of the gate. If you see numbers are fluctuating between 30s and the 60s, trying to find a happy number for Josh Heupel's leading receiver this year, who would it be? But more importantly, where should we be talking about setting the number? Leading receiver receptions all of 2025.
Well, I mean, you touched on it. 39 for a Josh Heupel offense for your top receiver receptions is just incredibly low.
Yeah.
Correct?
Right.
I mean, even in a 10-game season, that's not even 4 catches a game. We know they play 12. So I'm looking at this. Your top returning receiver is Chris Brazel. With 29 catches?
Yeah.
So how much above 39 can you go, Tyler? We know 67 the year before, but we're not going to approach that. I was thinking like 48 and a half.
So I'm going to sit here at 51 and a half, and here's the reason why I have this number. And we're close out of the gate, and I like that. The reason why I like this number is because how many proven wide receivers are in this room? You brought up Brazel. You brought up perhaps what Mike Matthews is going to be able to do for you. Here's the only reason why I am different on that number. Would you agree with me that last year Nico Iamaleava at times was gun shy? And if you don't want to say gun shy, would you say that he was more safely with his passes than he would go out and make an attempt, or at least live dangerously? I only bring this up because, as I've mentioned on Sunday's show when John does it at ATU, or you and I have gone back and forth off the air, Dangerous Joey Aguilar is what the Sun Belt Conference ESPN broadcasters would refer to him as, because he's not afraid to go out there and go, that window's a little tighter than normal. All right, let's see if we can make things happen. I think that this year, even though he'll be late to get on campus, he's already starting the digital calls with the coaches. I think he's going to get a nice rapport with a Matthews, maybe a Brandon Staley. There's going to be a guy, maybe it's Ethan Davis that he relies on while Kitzelman's getting healthy. Somebody is going to end up being a big, at least one-on-one connection with him. And I think that number needs to be a touch higher than what you laid it out at 48. I'll go 51 and a half.
Yeah, and see, and Kitzelman factored into that with the pictorial, right?
Yeah.
He was next with 22 catches. So, I mean, we're just going to have to see how this plays out. And we can get into this later. This may not be as much of a gambling type factor. I'm thinking the 2-by-2 formation has lost some of its luster. I'm thinking Tennessee's going to have to make some kind of adjustment there to get more short passes instead of these slow developing downfield. But we'll see how it works.
Definitely a guy who gets the ball out of his hands quickly. You can also take that into consideration quick, 2-3 yards at a time. And I think this next question is kind of also going to parlay, not in gambling terms, but it's going to continue the conversation. I want to look at Heupel's first 4 seasons. Hat tip John Pennington behind the camera for some of these numbers. You had 3 receivers tally at least 400 yards in 2021, all right? Then the big jump up in 22, the Orange Bowl year, you had 5 receivers that had at least 400 yards receiving. But in 23 and 24, you only had 2. So if you're following along, you went 3, 5, 2. So then let me ask you right now, let's set the over-under. How many wide receivers this year will have at least 400 yards receiving come season's end?
Boy, I mean, to me, this is another tough one, isn't it, Tyler? I mean, I am not going to go below 1.5. I don't know if I'm going to go above 2.5. So if I can just split the difference, Can I say 2?
You'd be taking the over if you
Right.
did.
So 1.5 is what I had written down.
So let me ask you right now, and I think you might have already said it in the last 70, call it 90 seconds. If I told you right now, $100 out of my pocket, who's Tennessee's leading receiver this year? Are you leaning Brazel or are you leaning Matthews?
I may be going Brandon Staley.
Slot?
Yes. And maybe with Boo Carter out there to help some. But I think what we had heard coming out of spring, Staley has made the most progress. So if I had to pick one guy right now, I think that's who I would pick.
Hendon Hooker loved the slot receiver to his right. Joe Milton loved the slot receiver to his right. Nico Iamaleava was a little kind of dealer's choice.
Right.
What are the chances that the slot receiver lined up to the right is just part of Josh Heupel's system? And if, in fact, that is Staley, maybe you're on to something here. I'm just picking up on trends on what I've seen with this offense.
Right. Because there's more to figure out if you listen to Josh Heupel. The slowness in getting some of the players developed, I think, the receivers, is being able to read the coverages better. We know he wants his receivers to block on certain things. So it's a complex thing, but you can't deny the production has dropped, and they didn't add a guy in the portal.
You beat me. It's almost as if we talked about this before we went on camera, and we didn't. This is just what Chuck and I do because we're on the same tune. We're recording this 114 days until Tennessee and Syracuse kicks off. So it's a Thursday right here in May. Do you believe they're done in the portal? And do you believe the screenshot of the 25 roster we see right now is, for the most part, is this going to be the team that we see go to Atlanta on the 30th?
I believe it is, and I'll tell you why.
And even if it isn't, are they even going to add to the wide receiver room? Secondary, defensive line?
I'll tell you what is at wide receiver. The Syracuse receiver, $2 million. I mean, how can you go out and I think you feel good enough, and you're not going to overpay. So I think you're going to go with what you got.
That's the fear I have, is that Tennessee right now in this wide receiver room, and fear probably isn't the best word, but you sit there and look at just what this offense can potentially do when it's up-tempo, and you have how many scholarship wide receivers in your room? If you can see that, that says 6. Now, look, some people would say maybe you don't need as many, maybe you don't need over-the-top numbers at the wide receiver room, but you're a wide receiver injury, a Matthews or a Brazel hamstring away from opening up the cupboard and going. And I know a lot of you out there are just like, Alabama, Amari, you can. But are you really going to rely on a redshirt freshman out there like you have so many other people out there?
And here's another thing. We've talked about running back by committee.
And here it comes.
Wide receiver by committee. Until you see somebody emerge as a wide receiver 1, who's your top guy? We don't know. We don't know.
Advent Electric has been providing high-quality electrical contractor solutions for 46 years. From 24/7 emergency electrical services to providing skilled residential and commercial electrical contractors and everything in between. Our expert certified electricians are equipped to help you no matter the size or complexity. Advent Electric, 865-588-0631.
You know how they always say you save the best for last?
Yes.
I have a feeling you and I are about to have an extensive conversation about this last topic here. Anytime you talk about Josh Heupel's offense, whether they cut to the booth during a broadcast, Herbie could be talking about it, some of the others in the booth will be Josh Heupel and explosive plays, or Josh Heupel and his explosive offense. I want to look inside the numbers since Josh got to Knoxville, and these are interesting. Kudos again to JP behind the camera. During Heupel's first 2 Tennessee seasons, his team thrived with the deep ball. I mean, it was almost pitch and catch, throw it in the basket. UT had 30 pass plays or more of 30 yards in 2021. So at least 30 pass plays of 30 or more. In 2022, that Orange Bowl year, they had 40 explosive plays of 30 yards or more. Here comes that slip down if you're looking at the grid. In 23, they dropped from 40 to just 18 pass plays of 30 yards or more. And then last season with Nico, a smaller step down, 15 pass plays of 30 yards or more. So if you're following along at the house, that's 30, that's 40, 18, and then 15. So Chuck Cavalaris. So we can't cheat off each other's sheets like we're in elementary school. What's the over-under for the number of 30-yard pass plays this season? Coming up after you give me your answer, I want to do a deeper dive on running backs we chatted about last week and if in fact perhaps we're seeing Josh Heupel make adjustments when it comes to quote unquote his explosive play offense.
Well, I tell you what, one of the things I first thought back to was the Vanderbilt game. Who was the guy catching and running that's now going to be a draft pick? What are the Raiders? You don't have Thornton there anymore. Squirrel White may be a bigger loss than what I think some people think over the career numbers. But here's what I've noticed, Tyler. The play that's not clicking on this is that switch release. Remember, you burned Bama for that repeatedly against Kentucky. At Kentucky, I think you scored 2 long touchdowns, just about identical plays. Whatever reason, that play is not there, or it hasn't been there. So you talk about how this has dropped from 30 to 40 to 18 to 15.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to that 18 number. I think that's a pretty good number for where they are. We'll make it 18 and a half.
So we're not far off, but I was going to hover around. I believe we'll see an uptick from last year, and I'm only doing this for this reason. Experience of Joey Aguilar than more than Nico Iamaleava. I have to remind myself that Joey Aguilar still has 2 deposits of 3,000 passing yards in the bank. Now. Let's have the SBC SEC question. Defenses you're facing in the Sun Belt, the defenses you're facing in the SEC. My question to you is, first, am I giving Joey Aguilar too much credit for accomplishments that have happened in lesser conferences against lesser competitions with that number?
He's not even on campus yet, right?
They're doing Zoom video chats, but you're right. It's not face-to-face. It's not actual in-person.
And if I would have ticked that up a little bit, does Boo Carter catch it and run with one if he's making a few plays?
So I heard Boo Carter's interview recently with the Chattanooga station, and when they said, hey, how realistic is it that we'll see you out there? His words, quote, unquote, they have packages for me. How many times have we seen a Tennessee football player go on the field and everybody goes, decoy? So I'm not expecting Boo Carter to come in and absolutely drop the Thor hammer and go, I'm here, boys.
But at least he's one of those guys that can turn a 10-yard reception into a 30-yard game.
Yes.
So, and maybe Ladarius Jackson. Don't forget that name just yet.
Okay.
He made that sensational one-handed catch, I know, in spring game. But you've got some guys in that room, but who can take it at least 30 yards? And is the offensive line going to give your quarterback enough time to throw it 30 yards? We'll have to see that too.
I want to ask this question because it goes back to the original tease I had just a few moments ago. I understand explosive plays is part of Josh Heupel's DNA, and if they're there and you hit them, man, they're sexy. You got fireworks, fans go crazy, defensive coordinators are losing sleep over it. It's great. It's awesome. But in this year's approach, based on the ingredients you have in your room, lack of experience at wide receiver, trying to identify the hot hand committee in the backfield, already dinged up tight end room, questions on your offensive line.
That's why I went 18 and a half.
Is this a year that maybe we're going to see Josh Heupel rely a little bit more on the running game, and perhaps maybe at least the explosive play conversation should not be as heavy in a lot of these popular topics or talk shows just because of, well, let's just say the chefs you have in the kitchen or the ingredients that are available to the chefs?
Well, there may have to be some adjustments there. I think we are at least considered to what you're doing. And John Pennington's brought this up on the Sunday show. Don't forget, one of the things defensively, the 3-3-5 seems to has affected his offense, and the 2-by-2, spreading it out, as much as any kind of alignment I've seen. So we'll have to see how they adjust to that. There's a lot of things there. I just don't think you're going to snap your fingers and all of a sudden you're going to be back to the 30 or 40 big explosive plays that Tennessee fans were used to for a while.
You know, you look at Joey Aguilar's 14 interceptions that he had last year and look at it, glass half empty. Okay, he doesn't take care of the football. Glass half full, he's willing to take a chance. So the reason why we like these 3 questions or prop bets this year for this segment is you don't know which Joey Aguilar you're going to get. Yeah, you want him to cut down on the interceptions, and I think Josh Heupel's offense will allow him to cut down on those interceptions. How many chances is Joey going to be allowed? How many candidates for those big chances are going to be available for him this year? That's why some of these questions I think are interesting to ask more than 3.5, 4 months out.
And here's one last thing. How many SEC starts do your different position groups have? You start looking at that. 0 at quarterback. I mean, very limited.
That's very fair.
I mean, so it all has to come together, and a lot of times everything doesn't come together at once. So we'll have to see how it plays out.
Thumbs up, ring the bell, leave the comment. Another week of action right here on the Sports Source Digital Network. Check a C-note coming out from behind the bars to hang out with us young folk here. Tyler and Chuck will do it again next week right here on the Sports Source Digital Network.